Hello, my name is Mikkel Weed and I am here to help you with your edTPA. In today's video, we will be discussing task 2. I will be giving you some tips for when you're recording your videos and also walking you through some of the commentary. So let's get started. My first tip for you is to make sure that before you even start recording, that you read your handbook. Your handbook will become your best friend throughout this process. It gives you everything you need to know for each task and everything you need to have for each task. So, for example, I printed my handbook off and I put it in this binder, and then I went through and highlighted everything that I needed to know for each task, um, and specifically task 2. For example, one of the things that I made sure to highlight and underline quite a few times is that for task 2, you have to provide a TPA with 2 video clips of your teaching. And there's some specifications for these video clips. For example, each video clip cannot be more than 10 minutes in length, um, but at the same time, they cannot be less than 3 minutes combined together. So, for example, each video clip you record can be 10 minutes. However, you cannot have a video clip that's like 1 minute and then have your other video clip be a minute. They will not grade that. My next tip for you is that when you are recording, it can be a little nerve-wracking to know that you're being recorded and that your teaching is being recorded. But what I recommend is do not stress about it. And I know that's easier said than done, but what I found when I was recording is that, yes, in the beginning it was a little nerve-wracking, but by the time it came to the end of my lesson, I had completely forgotten that I was being recorded because I was so focused on my students and so focused on giving them the materials and the content that they needed. Another tip that I have is that for your recordings, I recommend that you record 2 full lessons. So for your learning segment, you need 3 to 5 lessons. I would recommend recording at least 2 of them. This just gives you a lot of options when you are looking for videos to submit to the edTPA because you want to submit examples of your best teaching. So having those full 2 lesson plans will give you a lot to choose from for your 2 videos. Another tip that I have is that before you record, you must hand out permission slips to your students, so that their parents can give you permission to record their child. So, if a student does not return their permission slip, or if a student's parent tells you you cannot record their student, they may not be in your videos. So that is just something you'll have to keep in mind when positioning the camera, and also when you're doing your filming. So I know that, for example, I walked around the room quite a bit when I teach. So when it came to that, I had to make sure that I didn't walk towards the one side of the room that I had my students that were not able to be recorded on. You can still interact with those students, you just cannot have their faces on the camera or on the video rather. Another thing to keep in mind is that with those permission slips, you have to hold on to them for a while after you record. So, for example, with my permission slips, I made sure that after I collected them, I would write the students' names on a piece of paper, and I would have 2 sections to that piece of paper. I would have students who could be filmed on one side of the paper and students who could not be filmed on the other side of the paper. And then I just kept that on my desk near the keyboard when it came time to record, so I knew where to position the camera and where to position students before recording. But what I did with my permission slips is I put them into my edTPA binder that has all of my sources that I use for the edTPA, all of my lesson plans, and the tests and things. So that's just something I did with mine. You could file them away into a filing cabinet, um, but you just have to hold on to them for a little while. Let's see. My next tip for you is before you record, if you're going to borrow equipment from IT, such as a tripod or a microphone, make sure that you request them in advance, like I would say a week in advance. And also, I recommend requesting them for a couple of days before you actually need them to record. These couple of days will give you time to figure out the tripod and figure out how to work the mic with your phone or with whatever device you're using to record with. So that way, on the day of recording, you do not have the added stress of trying to figure out the equipment. Now, keep in mind that if you do not use a microphone, and you or your students are hard to hear on the video clip that you're submitting, you will have to transcribe that video clip and send that along with your video. There are some specifications of how long that can be in your handbook, um, so also keep that in mind. Another tip with the equipment is if you do not use a tripod, which I did not use a tripod because as I teach, I walk around quite a bit, so I knew that even though I was being recorded, I'd still be walking around and interacting with my students, and I would be out of frame quite a bit. So I had someone hold onto my phone and follow me around as I was walking. So if you don't use the tripod, make sure whoever you ask to record, if whether it be your co-op or a co-teacher, um, that they know how serious these videos are and that they do exactly what you ask them to do. There's nothing more stressful than recording your videos, thinking you're good and set, and then realizing that the person you had record you didn't follow the instructions or didn't listen to you. So now your video is a little wonky. So from here, we will move on to the commentary. I just want to point out some things with the commentary and walk you through some of the questions just because of how they are worded. So I'm going to try to present my screen. I'm not tech savvy, so bear with me. Um, okay, so with your commentary, there is again a page max on it. So for the commentary, it is 6-page maximum. As you can see, I did not use the full 6 pages, and that is okay. Something to keep in mind with your commentary is that this is basically just having you talk about your teaching. So you're just going to tell the people who are grading your edTPA what you did in your teaching, why you did it, and why this was the best practice for your students, and how you knew your students. So with question 2, or part 2 rather, you are going to tell the graders of the edTPA how you demonstrate mutual respect for, rapport with, and responsiveness to students with varied needs and backgrounds and challenge students to engage in learning. So this is a bit wordy. All it's basically asking you to do is is to explain how you interacted with your students, and how you engaged your students in the learning. So when you're doing this, something I would like to point out is that you're going to be referring to scenes in the video clips that you provided. So for example, you're going to state which video clip you're discussing, and you're also going to be giving them a timestamp. So with mine, I say that it was from video clip 1, and then I said that at minute 4:36, you can see that I am discussing the Electoral College, and then I go on to say why I did that, and how that helped my students stay engaged in the lesson and interact with the lesson more. Another thing to keep in mind is with part 2, or I'm sorry, part 3. Let me scroll down. This is asking you how you engage your students in the learning. So this is pretty simple. You're just going to be explaining how you had your students analyzing or interpreting social studies in this case, and how they were supporting those arguments or conclusions. Again, you're going to refer to a video clip. So again, I did in video 1 at minute 1:09, and then I explain what I'm doing, and then I explain why I did that. For every time you reference a video, you're going to say which video it came from and what minute they can find it at. This just helps the graders know exactly where you're talking about and go to that spot in your video so that they can watch it. For part B, this question is just basically asking you, how did you make connections to your students' prior knowledge, and how did you help use that prior knowledge to make the content more understandable for your students? For part 4, again, as you can see here, you're going to refer to examples from the video clips in your explanations. And part 4 is just really asking you how you helped your students build on their responses. How did you support your students in forming these interpretations or analysis of history? And just discussing how you help them with their conclusions with historical events. Again, like I said, when you're referencing your video clip, you're going to state which video it came from. So right here in video 2 at minute 7, 11 seconds, I explained how a student asked for help and how I helped the student with that problem they were having. Now for me, I found part 5 to be the easiest. In part 5, you're just basically explaining how you can improve your teaching. Now, this is something as teachers we're constantly doing. We're constantly reevaluating how we taught and trying to find ways to teach better for our students and teach them ways to help our students. So in this aspect, you're just going to be looking at your videos and saying what you could improve on. So for example, I asked many questions in my first video. They were not open-ended questions, so that would be something that I would improve on next time. And then you're going to also say what principles and theory would support where you would improve. Again, if you're an adolescent education teacher, I recommend the Thomas Armstrong book, Power of the Adolescent Brain. It's a really good book and it really explains the adolescent's brain well and strategies to use in your teaching that are beneficial for teens and their teaching and their learning, sorry. So now I'm going to stop sharing. So some other tips that I have that will help you with your recording and your commentary is when writing your commentary, you will have to listen to your videos quite a few times. And just like having yourself be recorded, this is going to be something that's kind of cringy, or at least it was for me. But something that I found was you watch your videos so many times that eventually it stops bothering you as much. And I would also recommend that before you write your commentary, what you should do is maybe if you don't like listening to yourself teaching, watch your videos first and trim them so you have the clips that you would like to use. And then after you trim your clips, maybe have a notepad right next to you, write down timestamps and what you were doing during that time that you would like to use in your commentary. That way you don't have to watch the videos as many times. That's just something that I found helped me because I really didn't like hearing myself teach. Another thing is when you are reading your commentary and checking it, make sure that you're grading it to the rubric. I would recommend that you grade it to a 5, so that way if you aim for a 5 and you fall short, you'll still get a 4, and a 4 is still really good. Also, when you're having other people read it, make sure that they're doing the same thing and helping you out that way. So that's all I have for you today. Good luck. I know that you got this. Don't worry about it.